All right, so here we go. We're going to take our pattern. And I'm trying to get this light out of the way, but it's too short. I'm going to have to extend this one of these days. Now we take our stretcher that goes along the sides, and once again we're going to do our two fingers and right about there, and then our one hand and right about here. Oh, look at that. See how curly that is? That right there tells me from experience, and experience is the most expensive thing you can't buy. My dad taught me that. When it's curly like that, that means I need to check that bottom bobbin to see how much string we got left. And I don't know if you can see it on the camera there, but we've got about 1/4 left. So that should be just about enough to do the top seam, and then we'll switch it out because, the joining of the pieces, because you don't want to be running out of thread right in the middle of the top seam, because it makes it ugly looking. Alright, so here we go. Right about here. We're going to go. Oh, you see how it's starting to bind up? You know why it's binding up? Because I didn't use my thingy. If you've watched my other videos, you know I love the thingy. So, now we got to start over. See how it's all stuck in there? Yeah, it's very, very common when you don't use your thingy. Alright, so you don't want to pull too hard because you will start to tear the material. I got some tweezers here, and I've taken sandpaper and sharpened them so that I could use them as little bitty cutters. Okay, we're going to take that out. And that is really, really stuck in there. And now we're going to get this out of here. Well, let's try to get some more out of here. Cut it. Now, if you're not sure about what you're doing when this happens, I recommend that you turn the machine off so that you don't accidentally put your foot on the pedal down below and make it even worse, and or start to sew your fingers, which yeah, I've done that before, right on this one right here. This is from a different injury, but this right here is from getting sewn on. It's not pleasant, I can assure you. Wow, look at the mess coming out of here. Well, I guess we're going to change the topic of this particular video from how to do dining room seats to how to untangle your damn machine. There we go. Look at that mess. Yeah, and it did tear the material. But that's alright. It's on the back side, and I can camouflage all that as soon as I clean it up. See, all the YouTube videos that you see out there about upholstery, that at least the 900 something that I've watched over the time that I've been doing this to learn even more than what I've learned from Mr. Lloyd Burns, who taught me this stuff. What I've seen in them videos, it's always nice and perfect, and it's always step by step, and it's regimented and disciplined, and everything goes smoothly. Well, on the What G-Paw's Doing video series, you're going to see this kind of screw-ups all the time, and I'm just going to let it roll because I want you to see what really happens in the real world of the dying art of upholstery. So, pink, just like that. And see, this part here that's on the seat, that ain't too bad. It's kind of ate up, but I can get past that. This part here on the stretcher is ate up, but you know how you fix this for your viewing pleasure? All you do is just turn it over and use the other side that ain't tore up, because this is going to get either trimmed off or covered. So let's get this all lined up on the new fresh side. Make sure that our stuff is set here. And we still got some stuff hanging out in there. There we go. And what do we got? We got, looks like we are clear. Now, since we've already pulled this bobbin, and I know it's going to run out in the middle of all this, we're just going to go ahead and change this, but we're going to save it because I'm a cheap son of a gun. And instead of buying bobbins, I make my own with these little reels. So we're going to take this reel and we're going to add it to the partial stack and see, oh, look at that, it fits right there. So might as well give you a block of instruction, an explanation, a demonstration, a practical application of how to put the bobbin in. For those that are veterans and or in the military, thank you for your service. I put this in going counterclockwise from the way it unwinds. Then it goes through a little bitty split here, and it's got a little tension spring steel, and then it goes this way. So it's going to be something like this down inside that bobbin carriage. So put it over there, put it through the little slot, give it just a very slight tug, close that flap, and get ready to manually thread the bottom thread through the foot mechanism up to the surface by using the string or the thread from the top, like that. Now you probably can't see it, but it made a little loop, a little knot, and I pull it through like that. Now, the way the machine is you can run a piece of material in there and it'll do all that for you, but then you're going to have some thread sticking out, and that's just another reason for it to get all jammed up. So here we go. We're going to grab our thingy. Give it just a slight turn so that it takes the pressure off, and there we go. We got two very nice clean top and bottom thread runs. So we're going to put our thingy over there, and let's go back to starting it over. Once again, 2 fingers. Get lined up here. We're going to go a little deep on the sewing. It was right about that line right there. We're going to go here. Back stitch so that it doesn't become undone. Trim it off. And because of my OCD, we're going to go ahead and trim the hair off the thingy here. It's just one of those OCD things. For those that have this affliction, you will understand fully exactly why I have to pause for a moment and do this. It is a sickness, but it's a good sickness because I find that the therapy of sewing keeps me at bay. There we go. Put my thingy over to the side. Those go right there. Make sure we're good. We're going to miss that damaged part. Okay, when you get up to the turns, and it might be a little bit far away, let me see if I can get this lamp out of the way and see if I can zoom in a little bit for you. That should be okay. You should be able to see like that. Now take the pressure off of this backing that is heat treated onto the vinyl material, the pleather or the naga hide in this case, is you're going to take little bitty cuts. I usually do 3 or 4 depending on the turn. That way you can get around that corner. That way you're taking the pressure off of the material. I get right about there. Once again, about the distance of my stitch. And I'm going to go about 45 degrees. Remember, the needle's down so the stuff doesn't get out of alignment. Okay, now when I did this, you see that's a little bit still too far. So I'm going to go 1 or 2 more little stitches. There we go. 1 little, 2 little, 3 little stitches. All right. All right. And I'm going to do it very slowly for illustration purposes. The reason for this is so that it doesn't have a wrinkle when you turn it over to do the top seam. Now, if I can get this shadow out of the way, there we go. Needle is down, I'm going to lift up on the pressure and I'm going to wiggle this to make it lay flat down underneath that walking foot. go. Then I'm going to get ready for this one here. Uno, dos, and tres. No pun intended, since we're doing these for a very fine Mexican restaurant here in this area. He's been a very long-term customer, and I do appreciate their business. I'm not sponsored by them, but they are a customer, and if they ever take the time to watch my video or videos, they'll recognize their color and their design. There we go. Great people too. Team Rosa and Tony and all them over there, they are fantastic people. So, all right, so we're getting lined up for the next turn, and we're gonna go 1, 2, 3, so we can take the pressure off of the next turn. Needle down, slight turn, oh, a little bit short. There, and there, and there, and there. Oh, I went 1/2 turn too much. Can't go backwards. There we go. Now this is the part that everybody sees when you're trying to find a place to land your butt on the chair. So slow and steady is the ticket. 1, 2, 3. Okay, lift up to make sure you see your distance. You're coming up on the turn. And even though I've been doing this for a while and I'm pretty darn good at it, I am not too proud to stop and manually crank this thing forward, so that I make sure that my symmetry and alignment is still good to go. Now see, I'm a little deep on that turn. That's okay, because I can get it back on track. Just like that. Ouch! The foot got my tip of my finger there. Check that camera here. Make sure y'all can still see me. Yeah, you can still see in there real good. Yeah, let's see. There we go. Let's get some of that right there. Okay, we're ready for our next turn. Uno, dos, tres, cuatro. Here, here. Probably should have put a little bit more cut on there. Oops, look at that bend. We don't want to do that. If you put too much of an angle, you will sew that crease or dent, as I call it, into that corner, and you don't want to do that. Now this one here, we're going to go ahead and do 4. And you'll see in a moment what this section is. This actually goes around the legs or the uprights of the dining chair, where the back pad is that you lean up against when you're sitting down. These covers are very labor intensive, but it's the right way to do them. Technically, if we really want to get into it, these design or this style of chairs is supposed to be covered in cloth, not in a vinyl. And the reason for that is because cloth will go around these corners a lot smoother. The Naugahyde is stiff, and so that's why I've got to go so slow to get around these corners here. needle down, cut, cut. Made that one a little bit too deep, but that's all right. There's a square leg that this goes around, so it will be okay. Okay, here we are from our center point, about one hand, which is right about there. Back stitch, grab our thingy, get this out of the way. Okay, that's what we got. We've got center part, 2 fingers, that's up here, that's all right, it's a little bit long, but that's okay. We're going to lay it nice and flat, and what I like to do is I like to fold it over and make sure that it is 90 degrees perpendicular. I'm going to put a little bitty cut in there, and a little bitty cut in there. That way I know where to sew at. We're going to take this animal here where I overflapped it by the 2 corners, or by the 2 fingers. And you can see, yes, we are a little bit long, but that's okay. Once again, you can't make it longer, but you can make it shorter. So this is what we got now. Now with my little cuts, you can mark it. You can take chalk or a pen or a Sharpie or something, and you can mark where that is supposed to be. We're going to take this here. Look for our little cut. Up our cut, do a little back stitch there, line up our bottom cut, make sure it's nice and flat, and connect the dots. Grab our thingy and transfer it to the other side so that our thread does not get tangled up like you saw previously. Now, we take some of our scrap that is the same length. We're going to go about 1 inch. And we're going to take this guy here and cut this about 1 inch. Make sure you don't cut anything else but the excess. Yeah, I've done that too. Take that guy there. We're going to butterfly this open like Chef Joel's shrimp. Which, if you ever, now since that's family, if you ever go to Hawaii, you got to go to Tiano's. And my brother-in-law, chef, and I use that term because he is real chef, real master chef out there in Hawaii. Chef Joel. You go to Tiano's and get some of their butterflied shrimp. It is phenomenal. Did I say that right? Phenomenal? Yes. It is absolutely incredible. Give a little shout out there. This is what is called a French seam, ladies and gentlemen. Gotta get everything out of the way. Okay, and pink. Now with the needle up, we're going to slide it, take our pressure off down here on the walking foot, slide it back just a hair so we can catch the edge of the material. Make sure we're still covered on the back. Needle down, lift up the pressure, spin, adjust, put the foot down, cut our thingy off. Actually, no, I don't have to cut the thingy off. Now I can cut the thingy off. And that's what is called a French seam, and that's how we close off the back of the seat. Another thing about the thingy is that when you pull it out like this to make room for the material, the weight of this keeps everything lined up out back here. So we're going to start way over here because we've already back steamed the original part, or back stitched. Make sure we're still lined up nice and flat. And we're going to run it off the edge there. Alright, get our thingy out here. Booyah! Just like that. And trim off the excess and give it a haircut real quick. Like that. Okay, and this is what we got. We've got it joined together, we've got a French seam, and we're ready to start cleaning up our corners. Now, if you remember in the assembly process, I did 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, a couple of them got 4. Now we're going to go in the middle of them and do additional cuts on both the top and the bottom. And that's to make it real nice and smooth as we change the fold or the lay of the material to get around these sharp turns when we do our top seam. When you do this, be careful not to go too deep and cut the thread that you just sewed. I've done that before, and it's really no bueno, as we say here for this Mexican restaurant. There we go. You see how it does like that? The way you get around this, take the pressure off of it, is just simply fold it in the direction of your band. See, once you fold it, get a little wrinkle right there. So now we're going to do here, take the pressure out. I don't know if you can see it still. Let me get over here in front of the camera. Isn't this fun? Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in the middle. Okay, let me see if you can still see that. I don't think you can see it. Let me zoom out a little bit so you can see what the heck I'm doing. I told you, old G-Paw, he don't edit video. FDG, she's really good at, Philippine Desert Gardener, she's really, really good at that stuff. So if you get a chance to check that channel out, that's fine. I'm not in it for the money. I'm in it for educational purposes only. There we go, see? Lays nice and flat there. We got this one here. We're going to fold it, go to where the crease is, and hit it. We're going to go about an inch or so past the turn. Takes all the pressure off of that part right there, so that when we fold it up under itself and start to put the top on it, top seam, that way it'll sew nice and flat and curved. That doesn't make much sense, flat and curved. You'll see here in a moment what I'm talking about. I'm going to tuck that down. Takes the wrinkle right out. Now I'm probably cutting too many on here. It doesn't really need that many, but that's okay. As slow as I go, I can get the stuff out of the way as I go. Now I've got a bad left hand, it got smashed and it doesn't work right, but by using these scissors, it's kind of a physical therapy for it, because as long as I can do this, I'm okay. When I can't do this anymore, I'm going to be up a creek without a paddle. That's why I have to use both hands, because I got no power in this one, but I can still hold them without dropping it on my foot. Which, yes, ladies and gentlemen, I have done that also, because it don't work good. There we go. Let's get this thing there, there, All right. All right, so we're going to check to make sure that we got our things all lined up and ready to go. Okay. Now, like on other covers, seat covers and whatnot, the tendency is to do it this way, where the fold is going up and you're going to sew along here on the part you sit on. No, no, no. On seats, you have to do it the opposite direction. Why? I'm not exactly sure what the history of that decision is, but I do know, and probably the reason, is that when you're going around corners and whatnot, you can see down inside there, it does lay a lot nicer. It's not as wrinkly when you're using vinyl. So we're going to go like this. The stitch is going up to the part that you sit on. We're going to rotate this around, get lined up, and I like to start at the back of the seat, the part that is not just blazing obvious as you get started. So lift up, take your foot off of the pedal, because yes, I have lost my balance a little bit and started sewing right in the middle of the seat and had to start over. It's no good, man, no good at all. All right, so I'm on the back side. My thingy is in the way. No, I don't want to cut it yet. It might get jammed up. Let me get lined up here. I like to start on top of the top seam. It's the easiest part to camouflage where it's joined. Get it started. Make sure my distance is set. And put the needle down. I don't know if you can see back here or not. Take the excess. Put my thingy out of the way. Needle down, and let's zoom back in so you can see what's going on down there. All right. Hope you can see it. Now, before you do anything, make sure that you're all folded and flat and out of the way. When you pull it, to get it to lay flat, don't pull it too hard, because then you can start to see the stitching from the knot. Okay, use your finger to push the little lump down. See that lump? Push it down and pull a little bit, just a little. Don't want to do too much, because it'll throw it out of alignment. Oh, see how that one I pulled a little bit too hard, and you see that stitch or that knot hanging out? So what you do is you just back it up a little bit. Push it together, look underneath and make sure you're flat, and we is. Okay. I pulled it just a little too hard, but it'll be okay. That is actually hidden by the square wood that holds the backrest. But they can't see it, but I can, and that way I want to make sure it's perfect. One of these videos I'm going to show you about foot control, which is the most important part. Oh, see that wrinkle right there? That wrinkle right there means that I went too sharp on the turn. So we got to figure out how we can get the pressure of that off. Pushing from the inside, or from the top side towards the bottom side, to push that wrinkle out, and then using the machine. Yeah, no, I'm not going to be able to save that wrinkle. I went too sharp on it. Yeah. symmetrical on the back side there, underneath all that stuff. And it is somewhat imperative that you are clear-minded when you're doing this stuff, because it's very simple to get started and realize, oh man, I'm on the wrong side. You go in the wrong direction, you're on the wrong side of the top seam, that kind of stuff. So if you notice in the background, not just because of the video, I don't have any music playing, TV ain't going. Fortunately, my little dog Zoe is not barking because it's early in the morning. Okay, here we are getting up towards another turn. We want to make sure that everything is all nice and flat down here before we can't see it no more. Okay, it looks like my knot is still a little bit too high, and we're going to go about 1/8 of a turn. Or let me correct that statement. My knot's a little bit too loose. So do this cover here, and then we're going to go into other adjustments of the height of that knot. Been a lot of people in my life that have shown me the sewing stuff, and the origin of this line is actually a heavy-duty magnet that Cactus, the leather guy, Cactus Tafoya, would put this giant heavy-duty super strong magnet right onto the machine, and then when he's sewing it couldn't go any farther than that no matter how hard he pushed, and it kept his lines perfectly symmetrical. So because I'm unable to use a heavy-duty magnet in what I do, I just chose to draw a line on the machine, and it works out good for me. So here we go. Here's a good example of keeping everything flat underneath there. Oh, wicked Cactus. Last I checked, he was up in Indiana, doing good for our country. And still doing some leather stuff. Come on, get folded. There we go. Now you've seen me backstitch when I'm putting stuff together. When you're doing a top seam, you don't backstitch. You just run on top of it, just about there. Wiggle the machine back and forth so that the little hooks disengage the thread. And that's what you get. You get right on top of it. Now you're already on top of an area that's different, which is the French seam. So by putting it across the same area there, I think you're just fine in camouflaging where it joins together. Take your foot off the trigger. Now when you're cutting a bottom one that holds that nice and smooth and pretty looking, Don't cut it real short like that, because what will happen is it'll work itself loose. It'll pop up a little bit. So leave yourself about an inch or so. It'll never come through there. If you're still concerned about that thread coming through the knot and coming to the top side where it's supposed to be hidden, you can put a little drop of super glue, my favorite substance, and you can just super glue it to the material, just a little bit of drop, just beep. That way it holds flat. All right, so with all these tips and tricks here, let's get this animal cut right there. Now, if you look, as we go around the turns, see it's got a little wrinkle in it, but then when you fold it, the wrinkle goes away. Got a little wrinkle in it, you fold it, and it's got a little bit of a wrinkle, but that's okay. That's the top seam. We're going to go around here, boom. And let's see if I can get to a part that, yeah, here we go. I haven't folded this part yet. If you can see in there, see how it's wrinkled? But then when you go the opposite direction, the wrinkle pushes out. Now if the wrinkle's really bad, like what I suspect that part that we're coming up to is, you could use a heat gun. Yeah, see this one here? That one's really bad. You can use a heat gun to kind of melt and stretch that out of the way. But we're going to take this and we're going to fold it and work it and massage it to get that wrinkle out of there the best that we can. There we go. Kind of roll it and wiggle it and work it. Yeah, it's still a little bit there, but it'll be okay. Sure you can see that, me working it and pushing it out of the way. Yeah, see, that's where I made the mistake right there. Made it too tight, trying to compensate for the wrinkle. Let's look at it underneath to confirm. See, we got nice and straight and symmetrical, and then boom, right there. That's where I got sideways on it. But it still looks good. Still looks really, really good. But that's just one of the things you got to be cognizant of when you're trying to do vinyl instead of cloth when it comes to that. And see how that nice and smooth and pretty looking? There we go. Alright, so that's how you do these. And then on my next video, I'll show you how to put them onto the actual seat itself, which is this part here. How you put it onto the seat with the foam and the batting and all that kind of stuff. After I took every single staple out of these things, might have been nice and pretty looking. There we go. But you'll see that next time. So, thank you very much for your patience. And that's what GPaw's doing.